Hey, folks. Welcome back to This Meeting Should Have Been a Podcast. I'm your co-host, Tom Schin. We're with my co-host, Tom Horne. And today we've got an awesome show. We're going to do some catch up on the last couple of weeks for us. We've been really slammed with things, but we brought a guest along with us, Joel Stupka. He's up in the Pacific Northwest, where the Mariners are playing.
A&W.
Yeah, this is great. We got 3 people on here. It's kind of weird. This is our first time, Joel. You're a guinea pig.
It's like the power trifecta. I feel like I'm rounding things out here.
Now, Joel, you're up in that Pacific Northwest. Are you a Mariner fan?
I am not, because I lived in Texas for most of my life, so I've latched on to the Rangers. It was much easier for me to ditch my Cowboys fandom because I was just one of those fans who are like, I followed the team, but I really hate Jerry Jones and the way they run and manage that organization. So I was happy to kind of kick them to the curb and adopt the Seahawks.
It's funny, here in New York where I am, most folks, not me, I'm wearing a Dodgers jersey for those of you listening at home, most folks are Giants, Jets, Yankees, Mets fans. Now, there's a Bills contingent that's grown, right? And people were talking about football. And they're saying, why are there so many Cowboys fans in New York State? I'm like, I haven't been able to figure it. They haven't won since like Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith days, right?
Yeah.
America's team.
They got a great marketing engine. Great marketing engine. I'll give them that.
Part of me just died as a Giants fan, as a Yankees fan. So once again, you're 0 for 2 with sports gear that I like, Tom.
See, I got my Dodgers gear on today. Excited for the playoffs to get rolling. But yeah, Joel, so we're thrilled to have you here. We wanted to learn a little bit about you, but we also know you have your own show called HR Snacks, which we got to listen to a little bit. One of the guests you had recently was one of Tom's coworkers. And so, yeah, tell us a little bit about you and what's cooking in your world.
For my day job, I am the Director of Enterprise Partnerships at Poster Elite, which is a HR compliance company. I host a podcast, HR Snacks. So I've been doing that for about 2 years. I started the podcast really out of boredom. I'm going to be honest with you. I wanted to, I got out of the consulting world into kind of heading up a biz dev unit for a company called Skill Cycle. And I wanted to continue flexing some creativity and some things that I was seeing around the marketplace, around the HR tech ecosystem. One of the things that spending about a decade in the consulting world, working with founders, working with HR tech, executives across the ecosystem, I would just talk to these really interesting people and hear these really interesting stories about how certain companies were started and problems that they're, solving. And they were just really cool, fun people to talk to. I was like, man, this would be great. Just give them a forum and do it in a way that's, a little bit easier for people to consume. Wisteria, if you guys are familiar with that platform, they did a study, and it was on, attention spans on videos, and they kind of fell off a cliff after about the 5-minute mark. So I was like, you know what, I'll try to keep my episodes around 5 minutes and just make it real short, punchy, focus on a topic. That obviously over time extended to 6 minutes is okay. And they're like, 7. This is so hard to whittle down and condense things down to a 5-minute mark. But
we have trouble with 30 minutes, to be honest. I mean, I hear you.
I know. Yeah, the back end editing is excruciating on those things, but it's a lot of fun. So I enjoy doing the podcast and staying abreast of what's going on in the industry and talking to interesting folks. And you mentioned I live in the Pacific Northwest. I love outdoor stuff, skiing, fishing, hiking, and I definitely am one to not turn down a karaoke invite.
Really? What's your go-to? I have my go-to songs on my phone. In case I ever forget.
I like to mix it up. So we were just at karaoke 2 weekends ago, and this time I tried Aha Take On Me.
Nice. Good choice.
I was prepping for that one though, because they get pretty high up there in the
Did you have a backup singer to kind of do complimentary stuff? No, just solo.
I did not. No. I will say that there's a local place that does karaoke once a month where I live here. And the time before that, I did the song Footloose, Kenny Loggins.
Okay, yeah. I'm down.
And Yeah, down with some logins. This is pretty late in the evening, and my wife was like really like pumping me up. She's like, "You got to do the slide." You know how like Kevin Bacon runs and slides during that one part. I actually was able to pull it off, and that was like crowning achievement of my karaoke career so far.
That's awesome.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I had to karaoke for my life once. We were in Jamaica and we went out off resort and we're in this like Jamaican local bar with karaoke, and we had signed up, been there about an hour. Things were going okay. It was definitely a little awkward. And some dude pulled a knife on us. Actually, no, a pair of scissors on us. It was trying to mug us. And this other guy jumped in and saved us. And literally as he's like calming the situation, protecting us, we get called on stage. And we look around and the guy's like, go. So me and my three friends jumped up on stage. There's like 200 Jamaicans in this thing. And the second it started, we just let loose with I Feel Good by James Brown. Had the whole place raging by the end of it. And we had no more problems, hung out with that guy. Literally the next 5 days we were in Jamaica. But yeah, we were getting held up in a locals bar. And James Brown, thank you very much. You saved.
Did you let him live the scissor piece down while you were doing it at the rest of the trip?
Well, the guy that saved us, we never saw the scissor guy. The guy that saved us, his dad, I guess, used to be the sheriff of Ocho Rios and was very physical in his enforcement of the law. So he was a perfect guy to have befriend us on that trip. But that's my karaoke story.
That one is way better than Kenny Loggins' Power Slide.
I don't think it's better, but
we went on a cruise with some friends a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. We're going again in February. Anyway, the last time we said, we need props. Why don't we have props? So the one friend, she buys us some inflatable air guitars. And so those are coming with us on this trip. Now, mind you, the two wives don't want to get on stage at all. Me, I'm a ham. I'll get on any, give me the right song, I'll go. But you got to do your part. So we'll see how this one goes. It'll be entertaining to find out.
Speaking of doing your part, you were just on stage yesterday? Tell us where you're at, Tom.
Yeah, a couple days ago. Yep. So I was just at our SHRM New York State conference. It's an annual show that we put on for the 15 chapters that we have here in New York State. I was going to say in the United States, in New York State. So busy last few days. And so I got to do a presentation to about 150 people. It was a pretty big packed room. I was really excited when they heard about that, but it was all about putting PIPs, performance improvement plans, in the ground. I think they're stupid. Most of the people agree with me, and most of what I said was like, why you keep beating your head against the wall and doing this, right? You can do it better. And so it was really great because people came up afterwards like, okay, so I agree with you. How do we get away from this? We've been talking about it. I'm like, all right. Yeah.
That hits me like, were they, you might be able to answer, were they solely created just to save companies' butts on a compliance piece so that they could just not get sued when they fired people? That's like the real purpose of them, right?
That's it. It's to protect the organization, which I'm all for protecting the organization, right? You don't want to run into things. And I have to be careful because the last episode I said right about 37 times. But what I pointed out to everyone is if somebody's going to sue you, they're still going to sue you. And if that's your only reason to do this, my whole line on that program, which I'm doing for another group in a couple of months, is to say leaders need training on how to deal with these people issues 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year ahead of that, because they spot these red flags going off left and right and they don't do anything because they don't know how or they're uncomfortable. And so we spent an hour talking about that. I pulled out the bongo drums, pulled out some Legos, pulled out the ukulele, had a little fun with it. It was a hoot.
Is the remedy training of your managers to spot, identify, document without having to sit down and do a formal plan? Is that the remedy for a PIP?
To get ahead of it, right? It's not going to get rid of all of them, but if you start working with people when some of these bells go off and retrain them, the return on investment of that is going to be dramatically better. And the other side of this would be that folks that aren't going to make it are going to see it so much quicker. And they're going to, if you do it with grace and kindness, they're going to recognize this isn't the role for me. Help me find another role in the company. Help me find another role elsewhere. It's going to save people a lot of headaches. Not going to work universally, but from a percentage, if you're talking 80-20 rules, this is going to make people's lives so much better. And the managers are going to be happier and the teams are going to be happier. And HR, which was this audience, like you think about the time spent, if you've ever done these, HR goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's just, I asked them, I'm like, what would you do with your day? And they're like, anything else. So,
I mean, that's why I'm in the HR space, because I was in hospitality running hotels and restaurants, and I didn't know how to document people or what to do with people that were not doing their job. So I partnered with HR so that I could learn how to like deal with all this stuff as an early manager, which literally carried all the way to where I'm at today. Like that's where it started, was how do I deal with these pips? Like, how do I deal with this situation? And that's where I really became an ally of the HR folks directly over this topic.
They hate it. They know that it's part of it. I was talking to an attorney that was also one of the volunteers, and he was like, "You don't like pips?" And well, he's not an attorney, but he went to law school and he knows a lot more.
That sounds like an attorney.
But I understand that, right? From a compliance and just protection, you're going to have that angle. And again, I said, it's not going to get rid of all of them, but if I can get rid of 9 out of 10 of them, I was surprised at the number of people I asked folks, how many people have saved their employee by doing this? And probably a good 40% of them still had their hands up, which I was a little shocked about because the stats are like 10 or 20% make it. But even if they do make it, they're burned. And my whole line in the sand was, these plans say improvement. It's not about improvement. It's how do I get you fired?
Yeah, I love the proactive approach. And I was going to ask you guys anecdotally, have you ever seen a coworker, fellow employee that was able to pull out of a PIP once they were pulled into it? I personally have not. You have?
I pulled myself out of a PIP.
Okay, man.
Yeah. I mean, I came from the sales world. Like PIPs are like dime a dozen. Like you could be like President's Club one quarter, and the next quarter you're getting a PIP because
what have you done for me
you're lagging on goals. So yeah, I had one of those. So
yeah, I had several. I had one pull through. She eventually moved into another department. She could see the light, and it was one of those situations where it's sort of like you put yourself around the wrong people, they're going to pull you down. And so she recognized that, and she just created better habits. I was also in that. That's what I told on the show, on the presentation at the end of it. One of the case examples I described was me. And fortunately, my organization helped me find another role. I was ill-equipped for the role I was in. Partly my own fault. I take accountability for that now, but it was the best lesson I could have ever had because it knocked my big, giant, inflated ego down to where it should have been. So, but lots of folks, they don't make it.
You know, we're tiptoeing on the compliance piece, not getting fired, not getting sued. I want to bring it back to Joel just for a minute because you work at Poster Elite. Full disclosure, Poster Elite is a partner of ours at Harry. So Joel and I have worked together. We're going to talk a lot more kind of about our work together as we get into the HR tech, the big topic of the day. But I do want to give you a little platform. Talk to us about Poster Elite for a minute, what you're doing, where you're positioned, and honestly, like, why do you work there? Why do you like working there? We'll put you on the spot.
All right. Yeah, no, this is great. So Poster Elite, what the company does, it's an HR compliance solution that is tailored and targeted for labor law poster compliance. So just for the general audience, every business that operates in the U.S. that has at least one full-time employee is required, mandated by law, to provide notices, postings of all of the relevant labor laws for their employees. So there are labor laws at the federal level. Each state has their own unique set of labor laws, and then there's even local ones at like the county and city level, depending on your location. And you're required to have these big posters up at every worksite location that you have. So even if you operate in 5 different work sites across 3 different states, each one of those work sites has to have their own, poster up, has to be accessible, and has to, be visible by employees. So typically like a break room or a common area is where these things are hung. And if you have remote employees, or all employees in the state of New York are required to have digital access to these same labor law posters relevant to their location, not the company's location. It's like remote employees. If you work in Washington State, but your employer is in New York, you have to have the Washington State specific labor law notices provided to you.
I mean, it sounds like the simplest thing ever, but that point there, like, oh, you have to have a poster, throw it up. But I mean, you start looking at all the companies that have multi-state, does it go county level?
It goes county and city level. There's also industry specific posters that you have to have. You have to have certain posters if you're above an employee threshold. There's specialty signage that you have to have, OSHA if you're a restaurant, if you're, manufacturing, construction. And where it gets really complex and difficult, like if it was just put a poster up and forget about it, that's one thing. But there are a ton of changes that happen across each of these jurisdictions every year. Like last year, there was over 180 changes. And what that means is that you have to update these posters every time a labor law changes that's relevant to your location. So the tricky part is there's not like a centralized location of repository of information that says this labor law changed, here's the new poster for you to put up, especially if you're working multi-state locations. It's very burdensome to try to keep up with that yourself. So what my company does is we provide a service that basically provides these posters, keeps these posters up to date for each worksite location. We provide notices whenever a labor law changes that can be sent to employees, and we provide digital access via an app. And so what we aim to do, and we only distribute through the partner channel, so great partners like Harry, what we aim to do is make this piece of compliance, which is foundational because these labor laws are the employee rights and protections, and giving them access and visibility of that is a very good thing from both an employee standpoint and an employer standpoint too. But what we aim to do is to make that as seamless and as easy and as turnkey as possible for employers, is to be able to turn on that type of service through their trusted HR providers. Companies like Harry, who they're getting, this great workforce management system through, be able to turn on that service very easily and have that integrated, into their platform where they don't have to go out and shop for posters on Amazon on their own and figure out when to update those.
Well, and that's the biggest pain for HR practitioners. And even if they're not full HR, there's so many things to keep track of. And when you have more of a one-stop or less vendors to have to go to get everything, it makes I can tell you from my staffing days, that was true. I'd go into warehouses and manufacturers. Some of them had 7-year-old posters. Some of them didn't have any of them. And I'd go in and they knew I was selling temp services. But at the same token, I'm like, you're going to get yourself in trouble. And that's 10,000. That's 1,000. That's 1,500.
What's the fine?
Yes.
Is it a 1,500?
The fines can go up to over 40,000 if you don't have a poster up. And there are it is shocking. I'm not going to name any companies specifically, but huge Fortune 500 companies where there's people that we know that work in these locations are like, there's not a labor law poster in our office building. Like we checked, we asked around, there's just not one here. I'm like, that is like a huge miss. But you can see how easy that can be, right? Because especially if you're a complex organization, there's not like a clear hey, this person is supposed to keep labor law posters updated for this building. It could be very disjointed. They might have multiple vendors that they're using. They might have some that are just printing them out and putting them up themselves. So it could be a mess.
You have that guy in a pit.
Those are always the fun.
That goes and sees your dates are out and then calls that into his favor.
That's awesome.
Seriously,
awesome. Yeah.
I've seen stuff like that. They're just like, I'm ticked. Where can I ding this company?
The number of people will say, well, I'm going to contact my lawyer now. And we're like, okay, go ahead. Have a field day. I'll wait for their phone call and I'm happy to talk to them. So, but yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, you get to be a hand and save. I mean, you can position it that way. As I'm even as the partner side, this is for your own good and you have to do it anyway. So we're making it easier for you. So it's great that you form these relationships with Harry to keep things moving. So I want to bridge us over into our next piece here. We like to bring in some current news. We say we like to. This is, show number 2, but that's okay. We're going to continue to do this. Did you see this piece about DoorDash weaving in installment payment options? The part I love about this article that came out in the San Francisco Chronicle is it says Taco Bell on layaway. Can you imagine? I've got to split my $23 payment 4 times to afford to go to Taco Bell. Did you hear about this?
It's like DoorDash admitting that it is wildly expensive to DoorDash. I get there's all that when I go buy something on Gap.com or wherever it is you're shopping, but financing a cheeseburger is wild to me.
The copywriter who wrote that headline, Taco Bell on layaway, I mean that's some copywriting gold right there.
That is gold. Yeah. Shout out to whoever wrote that.
Yeah, we'll give credit. It's by Aiden Vaziri. And this article is from several months ago, but still to have that sort of comedy built into the title, that person's probably a lot of fun to chat with.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about news. Like, it just kind of shows up. You got to really look at the dates, right? Like, this just showed up on the feed, but it's a couple months ago, and it's just talk about layaway. I guess it's so sticky. It's still out there.
Yeah. My wife laughs. Go ahead, Joel.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, is this, because I know that there's a trend, right? Because it started with like big ticket items, right? That you can put on layaway. Layaway's been around, for a long time in the retail space. And it's been like slowly funneling down to smaller and smaller purchases. Now that you're able to put something like a fast food DoorDash delivery on layaway, like, is this just like a natural kind of evolution on how you can pay things and spread out payments? Or do you guys see this as maybe a little bit more predatory on like...
Absolutely the latter.
Yeah.
Absolutely the latter.
I was trying to think, I was like, wait, are we being insensitive? Like, should I be celebrating that, like, people can now have better access to Chili's delivery cheeseburgers? And then I was like, no. Yeah, it's the predatory thing, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, they're trying to take the credit card fees. They're trying to take the credit card fees from an outside perspective. And again, that's my opinion. But you think about the credit cards charging 16, 18, 24% on somebody charging it. Oh, no, you can split it up on our bank account. It's kind of like the difference between the car dealership offering financing and going to the bank or the credit union, right? They just want part of the action. Now, who's going to regulate this? I'm sure that has to be part of it. But I'm thinking, I can hear stories from friends and family about coworkers. They will DoorDash their Starbucks every day, multiple times a day, and they're only making right for a coffee, and they're getting multiples all week long. It's basically an hour or more of their paycheck every single day that they're doing this. I'm like, how do you sustain this livelihood?
That's how I justified getting an espresso machine.
Yeah.
I want this expensive espresso machine. I'll just stop going out. Like, that adds up. It's pennies on the dollar.
Hey, this is William Tincup, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Practitioner Corner podcast. It's a wonderful podcast about the journey, the paths of how practitioners, both HR and TA, kind of go from high school, college, all the way to where they are right now. Some of the things that they've learned, how they've been successful, people that thrive around them, etc. It's a fun podcast. You'll love it. You'll learn from it. Subscribe to it. Thanks.
All right. Well,
I got another.
Go ahead. No. I was gonna throw in this other segment that we caught wind of here. Have you heard of career catfishing? Did you see that?
I love career and catfishing together on the same piece. That article's from Monster too, which has been it's been around as long as layaway, I feel like. What's career catfishing? I mean, I guess I know, like, is that just companies lying to you about?
Well, as they put it, I'm going to put this in quotes, so I have the career catfishing in air quotes, and this is from the article. It happens when either side of the hiring process presents a deceptive persona. For job seekers, this can mean exaggerated skills, education, or past responsibilities. For employers, it often looks like overselling company culture, benefits, and role expectations, and yada, yada, yada. But yeah, it's just basically we're lying to you to get you in the door. We're trying to sell you a Maserati, but really you're getting a Yugo.
Yeah, I think there's like to me, there's probably a fine line in this, right? Because I think if you're going out there and you're looking for a job, you want to present the best version, the best story of your background and your history as possible. And there's a fine line, right? Is anything cross the non-factual threshold?
We know people are going to embellish. They always do, right? You expect that.
On the company side, like, I don't know, like, go back and look at your job descriptions. Like, I don't feel like I've ever had a job description that actually made me understand what the job I was taking. You got to take the job, be in it a couple of months, and then go, oh, this is the job I have now. Like, I feel like that's just like talent acquisition, not even catfishing.
Yeah, and there's so many tools in communities to fact check companies now, right? With their culture and what it's actually like to work there. It seems like a little due diligence is probably required on both sides, right? To make sure that the transaction makes sense. I just wonder, like, if catfishing, actually on the company side is related to, like Tom mentioned, like an actual like shift in the actual role that you take on at that company, your responsibilities, or, oh no, your job actually is this plus this other, whole, job that we're going to tack on to what you're doing. I wonder if that's probably the fine line on the job site too, right?
Yeah, you take some creative liberties where the person who's writing the job description is probably the recruiter. Sometimes it's coming out of a file cabinet from 20 years ago. That's always fun. But they're trying to make it just a little snazzier to stand out on Indeed or LinkedIn, or in this case, Monster. But it's always blows my mind at the lack of creativity. I always argued that people should do video job descriptions so you can show them a short clip. Here's the office environment. Here's you can like chop the heads off in the video, but show me where I'm going to be working. Give me an idea of the projects I'm going to be working on. Or if I'm going to be in manufacturing, what does the manufacturing floor look like? Is it dirty and gross? Or, hey, we got a really clean new machine line. You'll be excited about working here, sort of thing. You go into those environments. We talked about this in prior conversations, Tom, where you say, hey, we need somebody who can multitask and who can work with multiple priorities and, is available. And what you're telling the person is, we're going to work you to the bone and you're going to hate it here. So, yep. But be ready for it because we told you.
Fast-paced environment. All right. So speaking of TA, we're going to run our segment of the show here. Let's get in to SpeakPipe. Thank you, Break Signals, for your music. It's Wood Cellar by Break Signals. Let's listen to a SpeakPipe that one of our listeners dropped into us.
The worst meeting of my career was wholeheartedly the first day of one of my first jobs. My hiring manager, so my boss, the director of operations, didn't tell anyone else that he was hiring me, what my job was, what I was there for, and what I was there to help the team do objectively. So I show up to this meeting and he didn't even arrive. So I was left to speak to my own job as I understood it to people that didn't know that I was coming nor wanted me to be there. And it was truly, truly awful.
Wow. That's a doozy. I think she got career catfished.
Did she say, was that in person that she showed up for this meeting, or was this like on Zoom?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. So showed up, no one even knew that she was being hired. Like, wow.
That's a horror story. Can you imagine? I mean, I know people get surprised on first days, not really having thought out the person starting, especially with, interns and young in the career. And so you can sort of wing it to some extent if you have somebody there, but at a grown-up level, 5-10 years in, it's just, I feel like, why would you come back for day two?
Yeah, that's a turn and run. This isn't anonymous, but Tom and I do know who this is. So I have some follow-up questions for this particular person.
You're used to first day getting, walked around the office and getting like direct introductions to other people and, teammates and maybe people in your department. And then maybe like getting your laptop and logging into all your systems. That's a typical first day. Like it's pretty light across the board. I've never had an experience that was not, similar to that. Or, filling out the HR forms and setting up your benefits and stuff like that. I can't imagine your first day and first experience is walking into an office where no one knows you and the person who hired you is not there. You haven't spoken to anyone else on the team, and then be like, yeah, hi, this is me and this is my role here. And everyone's just like, what? Who is this?
You got to feel like one of the Bobs from Office Space. Like everyone's like, is this person here to fire us?
I give her credit for getting in the building and getting into the meeting room. If nobody knows who you are and you've sold yourself to be like, I belong here. And all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. But we have some other interesting stories coming through SpeakPipe. Somebody had shared another story similar. There's going to be a lot of good ones, so I won't spoil that one. But you guys, let's transition over. You guys were both at HR Tech not too long ago, and I know I've talked to a bunch of folks who've been over there. I'm real curious what you saw there. And I mean, were there any of these sort of things, like people showing up and not maybe they're at their wrong show? You were in Vegas of all places. So
there was the International Fasteners Convention happening at the Mandalay Bay as well, which I really wanted to sneak into. I was super curious what a Hall of Fasteners looks like.
I mean, like
buttons? Some of those folks. No, like bolts and nuts and widgets and whatever.
Are you sure? Did you go down there? Like, I mean, it could have been.
No, I mean, I was just looking at this. I did, yeah. I explored. I was checking out their
pearl snaps for your shirt. Like, what are we talking?
I was just looking at the signage. They had some nuts and bolts on it.
I mean, I could say this was I hadn't been at HR Tech in 3 years. This was my best show. First time as a partner director, and it was so much fun. Just seeing so many people and doing so many things. Big shout out to Steve Bowes and Trish Steed from H3. HR Happy Hour folks had me on with our head of marketing, talked about Harry serving the frontline workers. That was super fun. Never done a live broadcast before.
Awesome.
We got to meet William Tincup and Ryan Leary, who are hosting this show for the first time. So it was really good from networking perspective, which, like HR is about people, partnerships about people, and like, we'll get into the kind of good and bad of what people are talking about, but like that was the big thing for me. It was just the energy of seeing people that are like-minded.
Those big conferences are so fun. Was it your video that I saw, Joel, of you shooting Tom and he's waving at the camera while he's shooting a video of you and looked like holding his phone?
I don't think that's me. Was it?
That wasn't you?
Maybe
that was me walking in. They had like a big, video board as you're walking into the entrance. It's like, everyone, Yeah, HR Tech is, it's been the kind of seminal industry event in HR for a while. You could say there's SHRM and there's HR Tech. SHRM is kind of a different show. That's more kind of built for, people go there to get credentialing. They go there. It's a different type of attendee that goes there. So they have a lot higher volume, but those are typically, your more boots on the ground HR folks that are, in the weeds. HR Tech is different. So HR Tech is really, and it has been for the past 15 years, it's the showcase for all of the tech forward vendors in the industry. So it's not really as heavy on the service side. You're not going to see like a lot of PEOs at HR Tech like you would at SHRM and some of those other different consultancies and HR service areas. But pretty much, I would say the majority of companies that have software solution that sells into the HR department go there. They show up. They have huge booths. The industry analysts come out. This is the highest concentration of industry analysts from any show in the industry by far. And like Tom said, this is, if you're in partnerships, this is like the Super Bowl. This is the best place to be because you have 400 vendors, exhibitors at the conference. They're all relevant. Yeah, they're all relevant HR Tech companies. So you don't have the Omaha Steaks folks or the Skechers folks that you'll see at like some other conferences. You're like, man, I guess I could see why you're here. But they don't show up to HR Tech. And it's great. You have more executives at this event, whether they're exhibiting or not. You have CEOs that'll go. You have CMOs, CROs, chief product officers. They all go to this event, whether they're exhibiting or not, because it is the place to network, to get a pulse of what's going on across the market, to talk to analysts, to do demos, just to really get a feel for, what's going on in the trends. And that has continued to be the case. In fact, I will say this year's show was actually more robust and there's better energy than last year's show. I feel like HR Tech
that's good to hear.
Took a little bit of a dip after the pandemic. And I mean, that's understandable, right? I think all conferences took a huge hit and they were just, trying to claw their way back. They did sell the conference to a different group a couple of years back, and now I feel like they're getting the wheels back on the track. Yeah, this conference seemed good. The energy was great.
That seems to echo what Tom was telling me just in brief. I don't know if it was text or we talked about it, but more along the lines of higher quality conversation and less volume.
Yeah,
Joel and I solved one of our problems at a happy hour hosted by one of the big vendors. We've been working on solving this issue for a bit, and there was definitely a lot of groundwork, but I consider the issue resolved over a beer with Joel at around 11:30 somewhere Mandalay Bay. So what are the reasons why you were top of mind for let's get Joel on to talk about the show? Because we handled some business there.
Well, and I think that's the reason why these in-person events are so valuable, in that I don't think they're ever going to really go away, nor should they. If you're able to have this event where you're able to bring together, all of these relevant executives and, partnership people and people within your ecosystem and network, and you're able to have these face-to-face communications. Tom, we got more done in an evening than we would have been able to do, 3 weeks back and forth async or trying to do over Zoom calls. It's just, you can't replicate the progress that you can make in person. And, it really helps with relationship building and trust building as well. And, like Tom said, I feel a lot better about resolving that issue and kind of going forward and really kicking butt moving forward on the partnership.
I mean, there's a lot of salespeople on the floor, but it's not a sales show.
No.
Which is awesome.
It's a people show. People are forced into selling in the non-sales show, and I tried to cheer them all up as I went through their booths, but it's a tough show if you're trying to hustle.
Well, and you always feel for the newbies, right? That's their first show, and their boss says you got to be there, and you better sell 10 widgets and da da da. But when you get a chance to mentor some of those, it's just letting that information sink in. Like, you've been at this for more than a couple of years. And it takes time to hone the message, the craft, the knowledge, the experience, and how to have real relationship conversations versus, we played high school hockey together, which that's special, but not so.
Exhibitors, vendors there, this is, and I, through the consulting work that I used to do with TSC, industry events, live events are really your only chance to get face-to-face with a lot of these potential customers or customers. And so this is the chance to not go over the top salesy. This is a chance to create, a customer experience that is positive, right? Yes. That you actually make a connection, that you're not treating them like a cold outreach email that is templatized and just, sent broadly that, people can sniff out so quickly. This is a chance to actually make a connection. And what is even more important is post-event, not losing that connection. That's why, we would always on the consulting be like, do not send out templated responses and follow-ups after the event.
Amen.
Call out the conversation that you had. Yeah. Don't send anything templated. Write this email out. This is a key moment, right? And your customer experience spectrum. This is an inflection point. You met this person. You talked to them. Reference that, and then build off of that.
Well, at the end of the day, those strong relationships clear the air of, I got a job. I have to sell. That's part of my role. I want to just give you the information so you can buy instead of me sell. And if you can get to that relationship point where they feel like they can control the narrative a bit more, they're a lot more comfortable and open to having a conversation because they don't feel like, well, I don't want the blue one.
Yeah. You never want to lean into features and functionality too much, right? You're at the end of the day, you're solving problems, right? And how can you solve their problem as an employee, their company problem? How can you, help them look good in the process and prove ROI at the end of the day? So all those things are super critical.
So I imagine AI came up. Go ahead. I'll jump into the AI after that.
You said AI. You go first.
Yeah, no, I'm curious because obviously it's a tech conference. AI is everywhere. Everybody, like we saw even at the conference, AI this, AI that, not gobs and gobs, but historically it just kind of weaves in. How do you weave this into the legal world? How do you leave it? But I'm real curious how heavy that piece was, given what you just said. Since you don't really have to sell it, it's just sort of how do we play along in this space? So what did you see on that front?
Well, Harry launched our agentic AI within our platform, so we are fully into that conversation. But AI was pretty much everywhere. Now, to varying degrees. I actually have something from Nicole Roberts that she wrote up from 360 Insights. The narrative of how agentic AI is going to save on headcount and revolutionize your business. HR tech has never been and never will be a panacea. It reminds me of the old conversation we used to have about the difference between orgs who use technology to enhance experience and connection versus those who use it to further separate people from the business. So that was her kind of what she took out of it from her summary. And I thought that was really, really sharp.
Now, for us layman term folks, I'm familiar with narrative AI. Explain for everybody else what agentic AI is.
Joel, you want that or you want me to do that?
Yeah, so agentic is AI systems that are basically completing tasks on their own, right? With oversight, or there are some companies experimenting with taking the hands off the wheel and letting them drive full completed tasks. So an example of agentic, and this was Matthew Shannon from Deloitte gave me this example. I thought it was really cool. So say you part of your job, you're traveling, you're collecting receipts for all of your expenses, and then you have to come back and you have to fill out this big arduous expense form, and fill it in for turn that in for reimbursement or whatever. An agentic tool could collect all of those receipts. If you take pictures on your phone, you can train this agentic AI tool to go in, collect those receipts, format them, document them in the correct way, turn that over to the correct person for approval, and then route funds back into your bank account that are approved. So that would be an example. They just completely take that off your plate.
And it can be powered by generative AI or large language models. So generative AI, your chat GPTs, you put a question in, question comes back out. But when you're talking agentic, and in the Harry example, we have all this data, we have all this scheduling information coming through, and our AI goes through and says, Tom, do you realize you have 3 people that are about to be in compliance failure? Or you're building out this schedule. We've already gone through it and checked it for you. You got 3 people that are about to work 6 days in a row. Or you've got somebody of school age. You have to respect their school schedule.
3-hour max schedule. Right.
So the agent, it's like having your best employee in there. And what's great about it is if you're doing it right, it doesn't replace your best employee. It's like your sidekick of your best employee. It makes you
faster and better at things.
Faster. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah. What I saw this year as opposed to the previous 2 years where everyone was just talking about AI, I'm like, yeah, is this mad rush to add whatever AI they could to their platform, right? Because you're following the investment dollars, you're following the trends. Buyers feel like they had to have some sort of AI, in new purchases, because that's what's coming down from, executives at the top. CEOs are like, yeah, we need to be using AI. What I saw this year more than the past 2 years was solutions that are more driven towards actual results via the product experience. So AI that is incorporated into platforms that make it easier for admins, easier for employees to use the platforms and to get things done within the platforms. An example of that would be, AI commands within, HCM platforms say, hey, what is our work policy on wearing shorts to work? And it would go and look at that specific employee handbook, and it would give them back an answer. And then if they had drill-ins, they can do that. But from a product experience standpoint, I saw a lot of more solutions kind of geared towards that. But also, like Tom said, like on the analysis and how can we either make employees more productive or use AI to drive insights proactively to the organization so that we can then use that information to, make talent decisions, make, warehousing and stocking decisions, make business decisions that have a direct impact on the business.
Yeah. I'd imagine it'll help with the scheduling and figuring out how, headcount needs on particular days and peak seasons. It's amazing how far things are going to go. And like you're mentioning the last piece, and all I could imagine was Star Trek. Computer, do this and that and the other. My worst Scotty voice ever. But that's what comes to mind is Star Trek and Terminator. I'm like, we're really going there. It's really happening. And eventually we're going to have those transporter rooms, and we're going to just off we go. We're going to have to put a sound effect in there.
Yeah. You're muted, Tom, by the way.
That makes a great podcast moment.
God, I'm muted on my own podcast. I'm glad I was, because I jumped in when Tom was talking earlier, and it was perfect. That's why I muted myself. But I mean, it was really obvious that companies that are doing AI to say they're doing AI, and the companies that have really developed a tool that can actually superpower their clients, superpower their own platforms. It's a really easy separation. You can spot it really quickly, which I thought was very interesting. Like I was able to quickly go booth to booth, be like, nope, you're selling AI because it's buzzword, and you're selling AI because it's actually going to enhance what you're already doing and provide value. And I think that's the divide today.
Yeah. I think there's more, I think there's still a pretty big gap, but there's progress being made on actual education on AI systems and AI models and different levels of AI. Like we already talked about agentic, but there's also just like automation automation's been around forever, but a lot of people are putting an AI label on that. And, just there's LLM, there's a lot of different systems. I think there's growing awareness around that, but there's still a long way to go, because if you go around these conferences and you're talking to attendees and you're asking them, hey, are you aware of the different, levels and functions of AI? They'd be like, no, they might throw out a couple buzzwords, but that's probably where their understanding stops.
Yeah.
So, to quote George LaRoque, I was reading his Defining Trends from the Lens of Investors and Startups at HR Tech. AI has become core, and I think that's a great way to put it. It is a core piece, whether you're doing it right or wrong. One of the things he called out that I really did like was skills and pay transformation aligning. The gap between wage growth and inflation is pushing employees towards skills-based compensation models and AI accelerated upskilling programs that yield premium outcomes. I actually love when AI connects to things we're actually trying to solve for. It doesn't just connect to your platform. So I thought that was a really, really good call out. And then he also says fewer buzzwords, more ROI, which is totally on brand for us.
We're gonna save some of those other buzzwords for our next show, because I grabbed a few of them from the conference that I was at, and I'm sure you grabbed a few more. But that's a longer episode where we just dive into a few other fun phrases.
Well, we blew past our time on this one, that's for sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
Man, we've been talking for 48 minutes. Good work, everybody.
No, this is good. Great conversation, Joel. Like the AI pieces, I think the biggest thing that I walk away from that element is make sure if you're going down this path, ask good questions to learn what it is that you don't understand. And if you still don't understand it, you're not talking to the right person. Find somebody who can educate you in language that you can understand. Those are the folks who really know it, just as you did, right? When you guys describe this stuff, it's amazing to get clarity when everything is AI this, AI this, AI this, and you just go into a fog. You're like, I just stopped caring.
It's easy to fall into the trap of, just using jargon, and there's so much AI jargon out there that there's not clearly aligned definitions across the board. So being able to explain some of the AI stuff in layman's terms and using practical examples is really key.
Tom, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Yeah. Great to see you again, Tom. I want to hear more about your show. Joel, pleasure as always. This is fun. I'm glad to be back podcasting, and I'm glad to be doing it with both of you guys today.
Yeah, I can't wait to karaoke with you in New York. Let me go visit the area office.
Fight for the right to party, BC Boys, is the next one I'm doing. I've got that loaded up. Never done it. I'm ready to bring some BC Boys.
I might have to do some. Might do some Springsteen if I'm going to New York. Maybe some Billy Joel. I don't know.
There we go. I don't know. Let's get it done.
I'm gonna have my kids when they went to college. Somebody picked up a karaoke machine. It's in my garage, and neither one of them wants it. And so now I'm starting to think I probably should start practicing this, or maybe not.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. We appreciate having you on. And Joel, thanks so much for being with us. And Tom, we'll catch you on the next show.
This meeting should have been a podcast, guys.